Welcome again. We'll start with the next topic, that is environmental conventions and agreements. Now this is an important topic. We have already covered the major conventions and the protocol that fall under the Earth Summit in the previous lecture. In this topic we would talk about the remaining important conventions. Now the first one here, it's known as the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. Now most of the conventions would be easier to understand from the name itself. So the basic focus here is endangered species of wild fauna. It was created in 1973. The headquarters are based in Geneva. It's also known as the Washington Convention. It's a kind of multilateral treaty and the participation is voluntary. There is no compulsory binding by the parties. However, those who join it have a legal binding and it does not take place in the level of national laws. So it's governed by the international laws. The idea, as we said, is to protect the endangered species in the wild, and the international trade in the specimen samples does not threaten the survival of the endangered species. The next is IUCN. IUCN, as the name we have always heard of, talks about the categorization. When we have covered the class on biodiversity and environment, we have talked about the various levels of IUCN. So you have the extent in the wild, endangered, and all these categories. So which animal would fall under which category is governed by the IUCN. It has the red data list and so on. So it has the headquarters at Gland in Switzerland, created in 1945 and has been given an observer status by UN General Assembly. We will talk about UN and its parts in a subsequent lecture. And as we said, it talks about conservation of species, so it gives a ranking to the various species. The next is UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, started in 1972 with its headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya. It coordinates the various environmental activities. It has two major bodies. One is Earthwatch and other is GEO, Global Environmental Outlook. Earthwatch talks about monitoring the world environment, as we have discussed in the class on Earth Summit, and GEO talks about the global environment and publishes periodic reports and assesses the development of environment or the quality of environment in various developed and developing nations. It was founded as a result of UN Conference on Human Environment in Stockholm. The next is Convention on Biological Diversity. It talks about biodiversity treaty. Now biodiversity, as the name suggests, is the diversity in the biological flora and fauna. So be it plant species or animal species, the various diversities that could be seen is a part of this convention. It came into force in 1993 and has 167 signatory nations. The next is the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. Now these are also known as POPs. POPs are those chemicals that remain in the environment and are toxic, so they are not disposed of from the environment for a long duration of time. And talking about the use of those POPs is an important issue, and this was started in the Stockholm Conference in 2002. The next is Prior Information Consent or Rotterdam Convention. Now this is again a multilateral environmental agreement that was signed. It talks about the shared responsibility on the hazardous chemicals that are circulated, and the idea is to protect the human health and environment from these hazardous chemicals. This was released in Rotterdam and hence the name Rotterdam Convention. The next is Basel Convention on Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste. Now this is a very important concept to understand. What are developing countries doing? Developing countries are using hazardous waste at a much higher ratio as compared to other nations, and when it comes to dumping those hazardous waste, they either dump it in the sea area surrounding the developing nations or the LDCs, or they consider certain areas restricted under LDCs where they dump these. So this kind of transboundary movement is being checked under the Basel Convention, so that the developed nations do not take overdue advantage of their powers. It addresses mainly the hazardous waste. Headquarters, the secretariat is based in Geneva in Switzerland, and the disposal and the generation of these waste are a basic cause of concern under this. And what type of hazardous waste are covered? These are toxics, poisonous, explosive, corrosive, flammable, ecotoxic and infectious. So these are the various categories under which you have the hazardous waste that are covered. The next is Helsinki Protocol to LTRAP. Now LTRAP is a long range transboundary air pollution, and this Helsinki Protocol talks about the reduction of those only for sulfur emissions. So Helsinki Protocol focuses on sulfur emission. Then we will see we have other protocols for other emissions. Now as we said, this is a air pollution which is transboundary, and the idea is to reduce this by 30%. This came into force in 1987. It was the Economic Commission for Europe. The 21 countries of Economic Commission for Europe are party to this. In 1980, the sulfur emissions were reduced, and the idea is to reduce those by more than 50% by 1993. So that was the basic target, and 11 countries have participated to reduce it up to 60%. Then you had, similar to the Helsinki, you had the Sofia Protocol, and this talks about the transboundary movement of nitrogen oxide. So that was regarding sulfur, and Sofia is regarding nitrogen. So that's the only way to remember this. So Helsinki for sulfur, and then you have Sofia for nitrogen. So you have cross S, means this Sofia is not for sulfur. So that's the best way to remember it, and there is where most of the students are stuck up. Then you have this was adopted in 1988. As we said, this is mainly for the nitrogen oxides, and the idea is to work around an effect based approach. The next is Geneva Protocol. This talks about controlling the volatile organic compounds. So this Geneva is about volatile organic compounds. So we are seeing the different protocols for different air pollutions. This was adopted in 1991, and it works for ozone. Okay. Then you have 30% reduction that has been seen by 1999. And you have the same reduction within the tropospheric ozone management area that is specified under the Annex 1 of the protocol. Now we have already talked about the Annex 1 nations. Annex 1 are those nations which are either developed nations or the economies in transition. And then the next one is Vienna Convention. Now Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol are important. Vienna Convention talks about protection for the ozone layer. It was started in 1985, and it does not include the legal binding reduction goals for the use of CFCs, which is the main cause of ozone depletion. It acts as a framework that would help you to protect the ozone layer. The next is Montreal Protocol, the most important among these. This was signed in 1987. Then you had the 7 revisions which were held at London, Nairobi, Copenhagen, Vienna, Montreal, Beijing and Bangkok. The idea was that this is a protocol to the Vienna Convention. Now when we talked about protocol and conventions in the last class, we understood that protocols are a kind of subset of the international binding agreements of the conventions. So Montreal Protocol is a protocol to Vienna Convention. It talks about phasing out CFC, halon, carbon tetrachloride and methyl chloroform by 2000, and by 2005 the idea was to remove the methyl chloroform. It is again a legal binding protocol, and it is structured along the group of halogenated hydrocarbons. The next is, you can see the graph here. If there was no Montreal Protocol, this would have been the growth of the various halogenated hydrocarbons. However, after the Montreal Protocol, this is expected to be the decline in the growth. Now, the next one is the Ramsar Convention. Ramsar Convention talks about management of wetlands and conservation of wetlands. It was adopted in the city of Iran, that is Ramsar, in 1971 and came into force into 1975. 90% of the UN members have become a contracting party to this, and there are around 1558 sites. Here are some of the most important sites from India. So you have Ashtamudi wetland in Kerala, Bhaktiyar Kanika in Odisha, Bhuj wetland in Madhya Pradesh, and so on. So you have a kind of long list of wetlands from India. The next is UN World Summit on Sustainable Development. As we have already talked about, sustainable development means using the resources in such a manner that they are available for the future generations to come. This was started in 2002 and it helps in better implementation of Agenda 21. It talks about, here are the main points that it focuses on. It focuses on marine biodiversity, protecting the vulnerable areas like coral reefs, wetlands, reducing the marine pollution, eliminating any illegal fishing, having a better coordination among ocean related UN and regional organizations. Now next is UN Convention on the Law of Sea 1982. This has a culmination of more than 14 years of work and finally was held in Montego Bay, Jamaica. It had a member of more than 150 nations, came into force in 1994 and it talks about legal documents for protecting the marine sea activities. The next is Convention concerning the protection of world cultural and natural heritage 1972. As the name suggests, it was also known as the World Heritage Convention and talks about protecting the cultural and historical resources. The next is Global Program of Action for Protecting the Marine Environment from Land-Based Activity. Now what is happening actually is all the land filings, all the land sewerage, all the land waste is finally dumping into the marine bodies and therefore the marine flora and fauna is being affected. So this body includes nearly 100 governments and aims to prevent the activities that degrade the quality of life in the marine environment. So what are the kind of waste that goes into the marine system from land is sewage, then you have the POPs, the persistent organic pollutants we talked about, radioactivity, metals, oils, nutrients, the sediment mobilization and various kind of habitat destruction could be seen. The next is Jakarta Mandate on Marine and Coastal Biological Diversity was a part of agreement in 1992, finally adopted in 1995 and talks about coastal biodiversity. The next is UN Convention to Combat Desertification. As the name suggests, what is happening is, let's talk about Thar Desert in Rajasthan. So you have the Thar Desert that is being bounded by the Aravalli Chains. Now Aravalli Chains has kind of passes through which this dust moves on to beyond the Aravalli region towards the eastern side. Now when it's moving towards the east, what happens? This region is being affected by the desertification and the expanse of the desertification is increasing. This is also culminated by the shortage in water availability. So this talks about how to combat the problem of desertification. This was adopted in 1994 and came into force in 1996. It mainly focuses on the regions of Africa, the Sahara Desert, the biggest desert of the world. Then you have the idea of good governance and sustainable development that were included under this desertification approach with 193 countries which are party to this, and 2006 has been declared as the International Year for Desert and Desertification. The next is Environmental Modification Convention ENMOD held in 1977 which came into force in 78. It prohibits any hostile use of military techniques which affect the environment or harm the environmental quality. The next is Bonn Convention on Conserving the Migratory Species of Wild Animals. Now this was held in Bonn. Comes under the UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Programme, was signed in 1979 and finally came into force in 1983. It talks about conserving the terrestrial, marine and avian species. The next is ACOBAMAS, that is Agreement on the Conservation of Crustaceans in the Black Sea Mediterranean region and the contiguous Atlantic area. Now what happens is you have the region of Africa and the European region, and this bounded region is the Mediterranean Sea, and then you have the Black Sea. Now conserving the biodiversity in this region has been a special focus, and that is what is a part of this project, this agreement. The next is Asian Agreement on Transboundary Haze Pollution. Now this specifically talks about the pollution of haze. This was signed in 2002 and all the 10 nations of ASEAN are now part of it. Aarhus Convention signed in 1998. The nations that ratified to this were mainly European Unions and countries of Central Asia. It comes under the UNECE, that's United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, and it has a convention that talks about assessing information, then public participation and decision making, and having justice. So these are the basic ideas. The next is Biofin project, again very important project held in 2012, covers the various European Union nations and the governments of Germany and Switzerland. It was launched by United Nations Development Program. The idea is to address the biodiversity finance challenges. So if you want to protect the biodiversity, if you want to do various projects for biodiversity, bio and fin means finance. So working around the finances for those is an important aspect. It helps the countries in the 2080 targets that we have covered in the Earth Summit class. And finally, in India, you have 4 of the 34 global biodiversity hotspots. These include the Himalayas, Indo-Burmese, Western Ghats, which extend up to Sri Lanka and the Sundaland. So these are the 4 ones. And India has also joined the National Biodiversity Action Plan. The next is Nairobi Declaration, signed in 1982, and this talks about the environmental strategies for sustainable development up to the year 2000 and beyond, and this has been endorsed by the Governing Council of UNEP in 1987. The next one is the Global Environment Facility. This came under World Bank till 1991. Later on it was separated from World Bank and it became an independent institution. In 1994 it served as a trustee for the GEF Trust Fund. The idea was to work around the environmental issues and stimulate the green growth. These were the financial mechanism for GEF. Those were the Convention on Biological Diversity, the UNFCCC that we have covered under Earth Summit, the idea to combat desertification, the idea on POP convention. These all we have already done. The last one is Minamata Convention on Mercury, and this was signed in Japan in 2013. It was also based in Geneva for some time when the conference was held, and finally it was signed, and 140 nations are part of it. The idea is to protect the nations from the mercury compounds and their effect on human beings. The next is Green Climate Fund. This comes under the framework of United Nations Framework for Convention of Climate Change. It assists the developing nations to have ways to mitigate the problems of climate change. World Bank is a temporary trustee for this, and its headquarters are based in Incheon in South Korea. With this we cover the major environmental conventions and treaties. We will be talking about more on environment and the topics related to expected questions in the upcoming lectures. Have a good day ahead.